you?
Good. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, it's 6:45 there, eh?
Yep, 6:48 to be exact.
I really appreciate you doing this. I'm like, no one has ever gone to that extra mile to reschedule a few times for my.
So, it's funny because I've been wanting to get up at 5 a.m. So it's just like, okay, if I reschedule for 6:45, that means I'm gonna have to get up at 5. So fuck it, let's do it, So yeah.
Oh,
All
really
good.
Cool. So what do I call you?
Faith or Faith. It's really up to you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. And you're okay with your questions?
Yeah. I'm just gonna pull them out so I can.
Cool. No, I love your artwork, man. Every time I see your post, I save it because sometimes I don't have time to look at it properly. So I'll save it and then I'll go back up and so it's really good. Really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
So I do marketing and comms. Like that's what I studied. And then but now I just have a little brand agency and I run that full time, just trying to grow it.
Wow.
Yeah. So just here in New Zealand, and then I also I just have this podcast just as like how some people go and play sports and some people paint and some people like do other things. Like me, I do this. Like
I like it. Yeah.
It makes me feel, I don't know, there's something about it that I love.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So we'll get started because I'm sure you have to leave the house soon, and so So we'll start in 3, 2, and we'll just let the conversation flow naturally. I trust me, you'll have a lot of fun. 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. All right, so hi everyone. Bula vinaka talafalava. I am here with the beautiful Faith, who is based all the way in Sydney, and she's an artist. And I just finished apologizing to her because I got one of the other guys in Sydney before her, and I was just like, oh man, it wasn't until she commented on our Instagram post, I was like, okay, I need to get her on because I've been a huge fan of her work since I discovered her Instagram page last year during lockdown. And yeah, I'm really excited and I'm so grateful because she's up nice and early. It's 6:45 over in Sydney right now. So I really appreciate her giving me her time like this, and especially early in the morning. I don't know if you're a morning person. I'm not, but really appreciate it. But before we begin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, okay. I guess I'll start from the beginning.
Life story.
So yeah, right. All right. I'll try and condense it to as short as I can. But I grew up in Fiji, born and raised in Fiji. I think about 2 to 3 years of my childhood we spent over in Asia, in Malaysia and Laos. My dad's an environmental consultant, so he had odd jobs, and I guess we just followed him wherever that took him. Also around Fiji, so we spent our childhood growing up and going to the different islands in Fiji. My mum's from Taveuni. So that's, for those who don't know, it's the third biggest island of Fiji, and they call it the Garden Island. It's a little biased, but it's one of the prettiest islands there. So yeah, and when I finished high school, my dad gave me the choice to say, he told me if you were to stay in Fiji, you could either, you need to move out, get a job, then you start living. He's like, otherwise you can pick any university and, I'll support you until you can support yourself, really. So literally got onto Google and I Googled the first, because I've always been into art, I wasn't ready to get a job. So I decided I was just going to look for something creative. But, back then I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I wanted to go towards doing fine arts. So, just majoring in painting and things like that. But, my dad said, you need to realize that the world's going digital. And, I'm so grateful that he pushed me in that direction, because otherwise I'd probably just be painting full stop. So I ended up doing a degree in design at University of New South Wales. And that's sort of, that's started my graphics side of things. So yeah, I majored in graphics and environmental design, which is sort of, it's like spatial design, sort of like similar to interior, but it's more of how you use the space and, how everything's laid out within a certain, whether it's an event or whether it's just in your house, really. So yeah, and then from there I just got odd jobs. I started working at a bowling alley, and from there I moved on to doing their sales and events. So I was running the event side of things for this place down in Darling Harbour. And then from there, my career sort of just taken me into sales and marketing. And then, you know, a few things happened where, you know, it's like I stopped painting for a while, and I stopped like really the creative side of things when I had started with uni and things. Like, you know, I do odd drawings. I've always had a sketchbook and things like that. So, you know, that was always like a side thing I would do. And I would always do odd graphic design jobs for friends, if anyone ever needed it. But I never really took it seriously up until probably about 2.5 years ago. I had injured my leg and I'd just torn my Achilles. So I was in a moon boot for a couple of months, and I couldn't go anywhere. So, yeah. You know, and it happened that one of my friends, Izzy, he's a removalist, and he messaged me and he goes, yo, like, you know, there's this, we just found some canvases. He's like, do you want them? And they were like huge canvases, right? Yeah. About 2 meters by 1.5 meters. And I was like, hell yeah, like, you know, free stuff, like, I'll take it. So, you know, he dropped them off to me, probably about 4 of them. And yeah, like, you know, I was just like, shit, I'm just gonna paint. So I started painting then on big canvases, and I guess that's just took off from there, and just started posting, and that's, yeah, I guess sort of how I started getting back into art, which has been great. And
yeah, I love that. And I also love that your dad was quite wise in the way he advised you that the world is going digital. Because I mean, when I went to uni, my dad's like, "I'll just do whatever." Like, really, and I've always wanted to go to Taveuni. I've been to VT level many times, and I'm just on the main island. But I hear a lot about the Garden City, and it actually looks a lot prettier as well. More nature based rather than busy Nandi, busy Suva City. You know what I mean?
It's crazy because once you go up north to the Northern Islands, everything is so untouched. You know, it's like it's completely different. So, you know, next time you go back, I would so suggest, even if you just go up to Vanua level and just, you know, spend a couple of days. My brother lives in Savu, so, you know, every time I go back now, well, he just got married and moved there, but yeah, it's like, it's probably wouldn't go back to Suva these days. I just head straight up there.
Yeah, no, so a friend of mine spent some time in Libya, where they do the she said it's 100% organic, like the whole island, everything is 100% organic. I'm like, I should live there. I actually should. It should be a lot more healthier, so I want to go live there. So I love that. So what was your upbringing like? So you know, obviously you're creative, you do amazing work, amazing artwork, and I'm just wondering, do you come from a family of creatives, or was art encouraged in your upbringing?
Not really. I mean, so my mum and, you know, all of her sisters, they create mussy pieces, you know, so the whole kesa process from, you know, designing the top of pieces to yeah, so like in terms of the creative side of things, I guess I've always been around them doing that. But in terms of like other things, like in Fiji, I went to primary school, they didn't really have art classes, you know, so because I had spent a couple of years in Asia with my parents, lucky I had gone to like a couple of international schools where they actually do art classes, right? So when we had moved back to Fiji, that was probably year 3. I guess I would have had a bit of an advantage against like other school kids. I mean, because, you know, Fijians are very creative in general. Like, you know, I would say Pacific Islanders are makers. We're not consumers, right? So everyone in the islands, like whether you're making food or like creating a novel, like people would generally just doing things all the time. Yeah. And it's, I think, this whole idea of like, you know, obviously Westernization, that's taken a step back, and, you know, with everything being exported, imported these days, consuming more. Anyway, back to I went off track there a bit, but yeah, so probably the earliest thing I can remember doing was I went to St. Anne's primary school, so we had religion classes, and I would spend a lot of time, you know, on the actual sketching of like, you know, Bible verses and things like that.
Yeah.
So I put more pride into my drawings than I would into like anything else on our exam papers. So if anything, if I didn't have good marks, I knew I had the prettiest exam paper because that's where my energy went to. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Who in your family, like I love, like one of my biggest values is family, and I don't know if that's the same for you, but I'm just wondering, like, who in your family like inspires you the most?
Oh, everyone in my family is so different. My dad's an environmentalist, and I love that side of things. So he's always exposed us to nature. My mom is, she's a strong woman, and she's very set in her ways, and when she wants something done, she'll get it done. So like I look up to her for that. And my brother, he's just the funniest, fun, caring guy. Like, he gets invited to all the parties. He's like, everyone loves him. He's always been like the favorite child. So
must be nice.
Yeah, he's living the life there. And then my older sister as well. She's just the most like loving. She's got 3 kids, and I just love how she loves. She's just the most caring, most giving person. So it's hard to pick one because they all have traits that I absolutely love.
That's good. Them, I love that answer, because in case they watch this and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right. I was like, it's gonna be really different.
Yeah, and then one person, they're like, I thought I inspire you.
Yeah. I
love that. So what inspired you to get into painting? Like, so I'm looking at you right now and I can see in the back there's an amazing flower design. I'm wondering how does that come about? Because like when I did painting like back in school, not that I got kicked out of art class. My teacher, he did not like me, only because I just mucked around, and I didn't.
That's what art class is for. Let's be honest. Everyone goes to art class. Yeah. It's like, a free session.
But Mr. Frame was like, no, because I like, here in New Zealand, like you, it's like an option.
Yeah.
And so I took it as an option. They're like, no, you have to change your option because Mr. Frame doesn't want you. And I thought, okay. But I enjoyed painting, but I don't have the patience to actually put that detail into anything. Like even painting my nails, I go and do it professionally because I just don't have the patience to do any type of painting. But how did that come about for you?
I don't know. I think, when we were kids traveling around, because we did travel a lot, the only thing I could do on long plane rides was draw. So I'd have a sketchbook like wherever I go, and my parents would always encourage us to read and do things like that, just to sit down and focus and be still. So if anything, I would think like that's probably where it started, because I'd remember taking sketchbooks onto planes and sketching people in their seats, or like just sketching things around me. I didn't start painting till I was about 13, because when we had moved back to Fiji, I finished primary school in a local school and then went to an international high school, right? So and that's where my first art classes were. So I started painting and taking art a little bit more seriously in high school, thanks to my art teachers who like encouraged me. And because I had like a natural thing, I was naturally good at drawing. It just sort of translated over, I guess, but yeah, I learned so much in that high school, and I guess that's where it really took off.
Yeah. How much money do you spend on painting resources? I know this wasn't included in the questions, but how much of your finance, like your money, goes into funding that passion of yours?
God, yeah. A fair bit. So I pay for the studio space, and then I also pay for, so the canvases, depending on the size, can vary from about $50 to $300. That's just plain canvas. And then the paints, you're talking about like $20 to $30 for a tub of just one color. So yeah, a couple $100 a month at the very least. Yeah. I love it. It is an expensive hobby, but like, I guess if you get good enough at it, it'll come back to you somehow, right?
Yeah, no, and you got to fuel your energy. Like you got to operate from a place of good energy, and so good energy, do it. Like I get nothing out of, like I don't get any money out of these podcasts. I literally just do it because it makes me feel cool. I feel inspired by different people that I talk to, and like just like everyone's got a story, and like I know I'm feeling inspired to. I'm probably gonna go paint after this. Trust me. I'm gonna go to $2 shop. Give me some paint. I want to paint. but there's always this inspiration everywhere, and so I love that. So do you have a process that you go through before you get into your creative zone? Like, do you meditate? Do you have to listen to some type of music? Do you need certain people around you? Do you want everyone out of the room? Like, how does that work for you?
My process was, because when COVID hit, I was painting from home. That's where I started, right? But when COVID hit, I was going a bit like stir crazy, painting from home, working from home, like, just literally not leaving the house. So by moving my space to the studio, that me going to the studio gets me into that zone, right? And once I'm there, then I know, like, well, fuck, I'm here now. I gotta paint. Otherwise, I'm just gonna look stupid sitting in my cubicle doing nothing, right? So that, and I've just got like great noise canceling headphones, which I just blast music, whether it's depending on my mood. I could listen to classical, or I listen to George Fiji, any kind of Fijian music. Sometimes it's rap. It really depends on my mood on the day, but yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so true with the mood. Like, sometimes I'll feel like listening to podcasts all day, and then other times I'd feel like listening to my worship music, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, let's listen to some old school hip hop. Yeah. And but that's cool. How do you deal with the distractions? Like, when like for me, like, as both of us, I guess, you have clients, I have clients, and when things don't go according to plan, it can be a real setback, not just in the business or in your creative process, but also like mentally and emotionally. And I'm wondering if you've had any experiences in that type of situation, and if so, how have you moved forward from it? Have you learned from it?
Distraction and things like that. Yeah, that's a tough one, because there's always things that come up, and I think it's just getting back to the client and just being open and honest with everything, because like everyone knows, everyone's got shit they got to deal with, and if it's a hard deadline, then of course I'm going to try the best of my ability to get there. But ideally with artwork, it's really hard, because I don't want to give something up until I know until I'm 100% happy with it. And and I don't think any of my clients are going to want a painting from me until I'm 100% happy with it. So like, I don't want to shortcut anyone, and I don't want to give somebody a piece that I'm not happy with, because that's I don't know, it just wouldn't sit well with me. So I guess distractions, I guess once I get into the studio, it's all about getting into that zone, because there are days when I get in there and the last thing I want to do is actually paint. But you just got to do it. It's just one of those things where you got to just get over that head noise and just start. And once you start, I guess you get into that flow, even if it is just for half an hour. If you're still not feeling it, then I'll just back off and go for a walk. Like, it's
I did that the other day. I just like got in the car, went to the beach, and I just sat
there. Exactly.
You
just need to like clear your head a bit.
And like just being out in nature, or just being away from home, and just being away from people that you love but can also annoy you at the same time. I know people who are going to watch this can relate, trust me. That's amazing. So just for anyone who wants a painting done by you one day, what can they expect in the process? So do they come to you with a photo? Like, how does that work? Let's promote you.
So I don't generally advertise my paintings. I just wait till somebody pops into my DMs and
market yourself, because you're really talented.
Thank you, but I don't really have time. I mean, I work a 9 to 5, so this painting is really in my spare time and on the weekends. So, and like I do get a fair few commissions. I do have a fair few like on the go at any one time. And because I also do graphics as well. So I don't put myself out there. I just wait for people to come to me, because I don't know.
You'll get there. You'll figure it out. And everyone, like, one thing that I don't like is when people, and I'm really like, because I understand what it's like, is when people who don't have a business, who don't really do anything with their talent, and then they're quick to say, oh, you should do this and you should do that, and try and push you into stuff, and like, it just gets annoying. It's like, relax.
Right. Like,
It's like I'll do it in my time. So I respect that, and I, you know, whatever you decide to do, like, got your back. So how have you dealt with challenges in the past? Do you have any like stories you can share, and that can relate to anything in life, or in painting, or anything?
Challenges. Oh, I think the biggest challenge for me right now is probably time. And just there's really just not enough of it. Right? I mean, because working 9 to 5, and we just adopted a puppy, and he takes up so much of my time these days. Like, he's so energetic that I have to like walk him twice a day.
What's his name?
His name's Simba.
Oh, Simba, cute.
Yeah, he's just sitting behind the camera right now, scratching himself. But yeah, you know, trying to paint and trying to fit everything in, and like, you know, trying to be active and staying healthy as well. I guess I'm in the process of trying to build a schedule right now where I can fit everything I want to in, because I don't want to have to give anything up, and I don't think anyone should. Just got to work harder, right? So
very true. Did you find it challenging going from Asia, going back to Fiji, you know, in that time, just going back to your story? I can only imagine how challenging, because for me, like, I grew up in a different city, and then I came to this city when I was still in high school, and it was quite a tough time, you know, trying to navigate that space and figure everything out. But I'm wondering what it was like for you.
No, I don't think it was tough at all. I think the tough thing was going from a local primary school to an international school, because the curriculums were so different. You know, I had never written an essay in my life, and I was, you know, gone into like year 7 or year 8, and they're like, write a 300-word essay, and I was like, what? Like, you know, we were learning English in primary school and in the local school, and here I am having to, like, you know, sit down and try to come up with 300 words. So you know, things like that I found quite challenging. But other than that, like, I can't remember much, to be honest. Like,
no, that's cool. I was just wondering. So I've heard of things like art therapy, but I obviously don't know too much about it. And I'm wondering, like, is art therapeutic for you? And can it be therapeutic for others? Sorry, that's my neighbor's dog barking. But is it therapeutic for you, and can it be therapeutic for others?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's a whole thing to art therapy where you know, actual people who are qualified in art therapy can really, they have a system where, you know, depending on what colors, what shapes and things that, you know, you come in and you draw on your canvas, that they can really help you to determine or help you figure out your emotions, or, you know, what it is that you're going through. I haven't delved too much into the whole, like, the psychological part of it, but for me personally, I would say that it helps if anything, I would say that art is my sort of meditation. You know, because once I have my headphones on, I'm like completely focused on the one thing. And, you know, people talk about mindfulness and all those types of things these days. And having that time for you to, like, just be in your zone and, you know, focusing on one thing at a time and blocking everything out, like, that's, I guess, what keeps me sane some days. And I find that if I don't get into the art studio and I don't get my time to myself, just doing that, you know, all these distractions in my life come in, and I'm just like, you know, it gets a bit much at times. And so yeah, making sure that I get into the studio and being able to get that time, I guess.
Love that. Looking back on your life, what advice would you give to your, like, 21-year-old self? And if you are still in your 20s, which must be nice, you know, maybe 16-year-old self.
No, I'm definitely not in my 20s anymore. I wish I were.
Yeah.
21-year-old self. Oh gosh, I wish I'd started painting a lot, like taking it more seriously back then, I guess. Because who knows, like, I could have been, do you know who Tanya Wersig is? I could have been her level by now. She's this amazing, she's an amazing painter. She's based in Sydney as well, but she her work is based on Tahitian islands, and she's just it's stunning. I'll send you links after this for you to have a
sure. Yeah, I had Tui on my podcast. One of the things that he learnt in his life was one of the things that he's kind of picked up recently is that he wants to use his talents a lot more. And I'm guessing that kind of like just using your talents and rather than just utilizing it, because I feel like because utilizing your talents and putting yourself out there can be quite tough, time consuming, you know, too vulnerable, uncomfortable, but
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you put your stuff out there and all you can do is hope that people like it.
Yeah,
you know, no matter what people put out, you're always thinking like, oh, they're not going to like it. You know, you're always scared of being judged.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, whatever, why do you care what other people think, right? It's your stuff.
Yeah, I love that. So what advice would you give to someone out there who wants to give painting a go? So I'm feeling really inspired by this podcast right now. I'm like, I'm a real writer. Like I do copy and do marketing and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I'm gonna try painting. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to use painting as a form of meditation and wants to give that a go?
I would say attend a class, because if you're just going to sit down without any instruction, like, you know, I mean, yeah, you could, like, there's no stopping you. Some people just like to, you know, put colors and marks on a canvas, which in itself is art as well. But I mean, if you want to grow a skill in terms of like drawing and, you know, learning how to use the paint and learning, you know, techniques and things like that, just attending a beginner's class would give you so much, it would give you so much benefit, because then when you go back, you at least know the basics, and from there, like, you can do anything. It's like with anything really. Once you know the basics, it's like it's ingrained in you. It's like riding a bike, right? So you come back to it later and you can just kick off from wherever you left off. But if you're starting from like scratch or like nothing, then I don't know. Like,
it takes longer.
Yeah,
it takes longer. Yeah, I wish I got a business mentor from the very beginning.
Yeah, right.
So many mistakes, and you know, really, it was ugly my first couple of months of business. But now I'm trying to reach out to more business people and kind of get that leadership, because I didn't study business back in school. So
yeah, oh, how interesting.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
But that's true. I love that you've mentioned that. Always go back to basics. Yeah, yeah. And I went to the gym this morning and I was like, oh, what do I do? Like, so this morning, 5 o'clock, I got up, went to the gym, and because I haven't been to the gym in like this whole week, or like for like a couple of weeks. And I'm sitting there like, oh, what do I do? So I just go on the treadmill and just walk. I'm like, there we go, the basics.
Exactly. Like, you got to start somewhere, right?
Start somewhere for the millionth time, me. But speaking of the gym and speaking of going back to basics, what does self-care look like for you? Because you know, you do have a normal career, and then you also have your creative side, and then you've also got a puppy and probably a lot of family and friends. So how do you take that time for yourself to kind of, you know, get yourself together?
Oh man, yeah, if I don't have plans on the weekends, self-care is just being at home, just doing what I need to do to set up for the rest of the week. My partner and I literally just started on Sundays. We're trying to stay home on Sundays now so that we could just like clean the house, set up for the week. We never used to do that before. Like, we don't, you know, generally always have plans, but I'm finding it so important to like literally have that one day to yourself where, you know, you just, I guess, take it hour by hour, you know, have zero plans for the day. And, you know, if you want to just go out for lunch and get lunch, we can do that, right?
Yeah. Having a clean house makes a world of difference, eh? Like, yeah, to your mind, like coming home and the kitchen's clean, it's like, oh, thank God. Like, you really, I don't think people, like, I can't stand like going for a shower and then there's like clothes everywhere and stuff like that.
Man. Wow. And my partner's like the biggest clean freak too. Like, if anything, I was the one that would, you know, I used to be the one that just like left the bed. I never made the bed. I just, you know, because I was just creative. I don't know, just leave stuff. It was like an organized mess. But he's like really gotcha, you know. So
that's a good way of putting it. Like, I'm a creative, so it's creative mess. Actual mess. No, that's cool. But yeah, no, being clean, like just having your environment clean, just it helps. So
world of difference.
and you don't clean your bed like fake here. Because it makes a difference.
I'm to be honest, I do the bed. I make the bed now. My partner gets up at 4:30, so I'm the one that has to make the bed every morning, and it kills me. But whatever.
What time do you get to bed if you wake up so early? What time do you get?
Gosh, probably about 10, sometimes 11. My partner goes to bed early. He's a PT, so he gets up really early, and he has some crazy long hours.
Like so a lot of the podcasts I watch, a lot of the podcasts I look up to, when they have people that they look up to, and I look up to everyone that comes on my podcast, they ask their guests like what their day-to-day looks like. So I'm going to ask you, what does your day-to-day look like? Like, what is a day in the life for you?
At the moment, okay, I was going to tell you what I want my day to look like. I want to get up at 5 a.m. and I want to go do a gym session and come back, walk my dog, and then go to work from there. Come back at probably about 6 p.m. if I could. I'd go to the studio for an hour or two, probably 2-3 times a week. Dinner, shower, back to bed. That would be my ideal day. But, like we say, shit comes up and you got to change your plans on the daily. So at the moment, God, like last week, it was terrible. Trying to get up at 5 was just not happening for me. So I just sleep in bed with Simba and wait until it was work time and then just quickly rush and run to work. But that's, I'm trying to get out of that routine, trying to change,
yeah, man. It's a work in progress. Like today I did really well. I knew I was looking forward to the podcast. I was in a good mood. I was like, got a podcast this morning. I'm going to get up. I'm going to enjoy myself and go to the gym and have a good breakfast and stuff. And then some days you just pick up your phone and you're like,
snooze, go back to bed.
Yeah. But I heard it takes 21 days to make a habit. So maybe we can do a 21-day challenge or something.
Yeah, I was so upset because I had done like 11 days straight of 5 a.m. starts, right? And then going to the gym. And then it was like I just completely crashed for the last week. And now I'm trying to get back into it. So I was like, okay, starting again. Let's go. 21 days.
Day 1 out of 1 million.
I know.
I love that. That's so cool. So do you have any advice for anyone else that who struggles to get into like, any type of self-care? Like obviously with you and your partner and your family, you've taken the first step of staying home on a Sunday and making sure things get done. I mean, do you have any like words of encouragement for anyone out there who struggles to even take time like that for themselves?
I think figuring out what self-care looks like for you, because some people like to go get a mani-pedi or, get your hair done. Even if it's just something small. And I think, even if it's just an hour out of the week, just for yourself, just go and do it, whether it's a walk by the beach or going to a movie, but once you realize what self-care looks like to you and then you go and do it, then you can say, oh, I've had my self-care for that week. Whereas if you're just like living day to day and, just doing whatever, you could get to the end of the week and be like, oh, I'm so tired. I haven't done anything this week, where, you probably have done like a little bit of self-care, but because it's not registered in your mind, you haven't really, you know what I mean? So I don't know, like for personally changing the way I think I look at self-care and what it means to me personally, that's worked for me. So I don't know, could work.
I love that. That's what I'm okay. And this is just a random quick, just because I can't stop looking at the artwork that's behind you. Apart from painting and design, what are some of the other art forms that you enjoy?
I love the whole process of kesa like with my aunties. So when we go back to Fiji or next time I go back, the first thing I want to do is go back and print a whole bunch of masi pieces. But what I want to do in the future is I want to be able to recycle masi and these type of pieces, because as islanders, they sit in our cupboards, and they just rot because they're prone to getting eaten by bugs and things like that. So if they're not taken care of properly, these beautiful pieces can just sit and they just go to waste. So what I want to do is, teach people how to, even if you just want to wrap it on a canvas and put it up in your house, like teach them how to treat it and turn it into an art piece, which they can use within their own home. And I guess learning how the actual what's the word, I guess just how to use it in different forms, because you've seen that, you know, some people can create dresses and, you know, actual text, use it as like a textile or like a fabric, and, you know, there's some beautiful wedding dresses. So I think there's no limit to what we can do with the masi. But I'd love to, you know, experiment and explore like its full potential, I guess. So that would definitely be what I'd be looking at doing once the borders open and once I can get my hands on more of it, because, you know, it's I can't find any in Sydney at the moment.
If you know, with the like, because with Samoans and Tongans, we put our mats under our mattress, our bed. Do you Fijians do that too?
You mean like fold it up and
yeah, and like, you know, do because I know what we do that, like, yeah, I'm just wondering, do Fiji, because I don't know much about Fijian artwork actually. Yeah. Well,
yeah, I guess that they're all quite similar, and yeah, I mean, if you're looking for storage space, I suppose, yeah, people would put it under there. I personally wouldn't know, really. I'm
gonna ask another Fijian. My next
let me know when you know.
Yeah, I'll DM you. And it's funny because, like, I've had a lot of Fijians on my podcast just coming from, like, and people still inquiring right now, like, oh yeah, would love to like connect with you and stuff, because I'm always open, anyone that wants to come on and have a chat. Just from that one podcast with Tui, like, I've had like so many different Fijians reach out and want to jump on, like, women as well wanting to jump on, and it's been really cool.
Awesome.
But that's cool. It's been so lovely to have you on the podcast. I know you have to go. I'm just being mindful of time. We're both busy women. So did you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, but I mean, you know, I think if somebody's interested in getting painting or starting, you know, I'm always happy to answer questions. So if, you know, they want to drop me a DM or anything, feel free to ask. I get a bunch of people asking me questions, you know, on how I've actually stretched the masi and things like that. So whatever, like, I'm always happy to answer questions. So feel free.
Love that. How long does it take to make a masi? The masi?
From scratch, I guess, like if you're taking it from the tree, like from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Well, you got to cut the tree down, and then you got to peel the bark off, and then you got to, like, you know, beat it down to a paper, and then you got to combine, because a bucket tree is like the ones they use about this thin. So once that's beaten out, it's probably about that big. So to create like a massive piece, you've got all these strips, which they then got to combine into like the bigger piece. And then from there, gosh, watching my aunt do it, couple of weeks easy. Yeah.
It must be so special.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to go do some research on that. Well, when I have time, I've got work to do, but I'm probably going to go and have a look into masi and Fijian artwork, because I don't really know much. So, but I really appreciate you giving me your time for this podcast. I'm so sorry for putting Tui on before you. I should have.
No, please.
My Sydney guest. I should have had you on. It wasn't until you commented on, I was like, oh damn, like.
No, it's good. I was glad, because I watched it and I was just like, hey, this is cool. You know.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. That was like one of my favorites. I had a lot of fun.
I know, and you were so nervous too, and I was just like,
yeah, I've got, I was really nervous, only because I watch their stuff all the time, and so I thought, oh god,
yeah,
it's really cool.
I know.
But you're amazing too. Actually, you're better than him. You're better than him. So
I'm gonna tell him that. Thank you.
Yeah, go tell him. But no, thank you so much for giving me your time. I am so looking forward to connecting in person one day, hopefully soon.
Absolutely.
And having a look at your artwork in person, because I'm a huge fan of your Instagram page. And yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, all good. No, all good. All right, so we'll leave it there, and I hope you have a good day, and I will send you a DM after this.
All right,
awesome. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.